Subscribe.
What does health really mean to you? If you had to visualize it, understand it from multiple different perspectives, how would you see it? What if I told you that the hardest experiences of your life when it comes to dis-ease are actually the greatest opportunities to bring you back into balance, back into a state of true and pure health? Throughout this episode of Inspired, we're going to be talking about those topics specifically. I'm going to be sharing a personal story of how dis-ease brought me to the greatest potential of my own health. I'm going to be speaking about free will versus divine will, and how the purpose is to truly align the two in order to experience health once again. Ultimately, my purpose of sharing and speaking about this topic today is to inspire you to be the healthiest you that you can be through the adverse events, the hard events that come your way, reshaping your perspective of those events and bringing yourself back into balance once again. My name is Jason Shurka, and this is episode 2 of Inspired. So how do we define health? What does health look like to you? Is it a balance of the body? Is it a balance of something beyond the body? Maybe a balance of your spirituality, your physicality, your job, your relationships, your internal world, your external world. To me, health is a balance of all of these things. It's simply just living life in balance. But then the next question is, what does balance really mean? Because what balance is for me may be out of balance for you. And what balance may be for you may not be a balance for me. And that's something we all have to keep in mind. There is no one size fits all in this world. There is no my balance is your balance and your balance is my balance. Instead of trying to define health in black and white, let's understand the principles and then apply those principles to our lives. Because if we can apply those principles to our lives, it no longer becomes a one size fits all of saying this is right and this is wrong. Instead, we say, okay, how do I feel? What is my body telling me? What is my spirit telling me? What is my soul telling me? What are my emotions bringing up? We have to look at all these things to understand, are we truly living a healthy life? Or are we living the illusion of a healthy life? Facing those things is step one. Now, some of you watching this right now may be at your optimal health and want to maintain that, or whatever you think your optimal health is, it could be a whole lot better and you just don't know what you don't know. Others of you that are watching this right now may be experiencing the exact opposite. Maybe experiencing severe ailments, diseases, whatever it may be. The message that I'm going to share today throughout this episode of Inspired is the principles of what each of us can do, no matter what part of that spectrum you're on, to take advantage of the opportunity that we have right before us. So I'm going to start by sharing a long story in a short, summarized fashion. And this is a personal story that I personally went through, something that I experienced in the most horrific way possible, but it was the best experience of my life. It was the hardest thing I've ever gone through, the most painful experience I've ever gone through. Actually, I was literally almost on my deathbed. I almost died from an infection that I'm going to tell you all about. And that series of events brought me to the best place ever. Because the stillness and the silence that I sat in, because in a way I had no other choice, brought me to a point of saying, instead of why is this happening to me, why did I choose this? What does this have to teach me? Because if all is one, then we understand very simply, source will never do anything to hurt itself. So therefore the next question is, how is this helping me? So it all started when I was 14 years old. 14 to about 18 or 19 years old. Out of seemingly nowhere, this shoulder, my left shoulder, started dislocating. Literally, I went to reach for something. I was going to get my wallet from my sister in her bag. I went to reach for it, my shoulder popped. It was the first time it happened and extremely painful, out of nowhere. Nowhere. I'll explain that in a second. And over a period of time, it kept happening. I had to go to the doctors and they said, you need to get surgery. I didn't know any better at the time. I got surgery, I had a torn labrum, and that's exactly what I did. They said this can't happen again, otherwise we're going to have to do a bigger surgery. So I tried being as cautious as I could be. That didn't work very well. Kept happening. I went back to the doctors and they said, you have to get a second surgery. This is going to be a little more intense than the first one. But if this happens again and you need a third one, we can't save your shoulder anymore. We're going to need to give you a mechanical shoulder. I was like 16, 17 at the time at this point of that series of events. I said, no problem, doctor. I know exactly what to do. I'll take care of myself. And then it happened again. And I was distraught. It was the lowest period of my life. I was depressed. I thought that by age 18, I would need a mechanical shoulder. I didn't know what to do. Turns out they were able to do a more aggressive surgery, 3 surgeries in now by age 18. I didn't need the mechanical shoulder. And I thought, great, I have to be more careful. And then something else started happening. I went on a backpacking trip to Thailand. I got a little cut of many cuts because I was walking barefoot and hiking and backpacking and all that. And this one cut got infected over a period of time, over a period of about 4 to 5 days. And that infection was actually a staph infection that caused me to have to go home on an emergency flight by myself at age 18, right before my 19th birthday. And it was the most horrifying pain of my life. The doctors told me once I got back to the hospital, or to the hospital in New York, I should say, if I got there 8 hours later, they would have had to amputate my leg. And if I got there 24 hours later, it probably would have hit my heart, that infection, and I wouldn't have made it through. I would have died. So here I am sitting in the hospital bed and just reflecting. I was in the hospital for a week at that point. At that point, I was also in a sling from all my shoulder surgeries for about 8% of my life by age 18. I spent my 19th birthday in the hospital because of the staph infection. And here I am looking and reflecting and saying, wait a second. Over the past 4 to 5 years, things have been happening to me. Why? There's a cause and there's an effect. If there's a cause and effect, if I can understand the cause and I can understand why it's producing that specific effect, then maybe I can understand how to shift that cause to no longer produce the undesired effect of dis-ease. And it was the dis-ease and those ailments and the injuries that caused me to start asking that question. So I sat down and I said, Jason, where did you go wrong? What did you do? How did this all happen? And over a period of a few days, just being silent, that's where I started seeing a lesson that I want to share with all of you when it comes to how this all applies to seeing dis-ease, ailments, injuries as not just tests, not just lessons, but gifts that you're given to bring you back into alignment with who you came here to be. So it allowed me to see that from the day that I was born up until the age of about 13 before this started happening, I was truly myself. But something happened throughout that time. The more I expressed my true self, the more I was demonized by people around me because they thought I was weird. My friends at age 12, 13, 14, they're like, why are you talking about all this like spiritual stuff? And my coping mechanism was I wanted to put on a mask. So that's exactly what I did. I put on a mask and I became a different person over that 5-year period. And throughout that point of time, I dislocated this shoulder 23 times. I got a staph infection that almost had my leg amputated, that almost killed me. And it brought me back full circle to the same place of saying, what is going on and what is the message? And that's when I had the vision that showed me health in a completely new way. And that vision came through this understanding of the difference between free will and divine will. And I ask you all to watch this and listen to this message very carefully. Again, forget about my story. That's not what matters here. What matters are the principles throughout these stories that apply to each and every one of you in your own unique way, in your own path of life. So there's free will and there's divine will. Free will is the will of the body. Divine will is the will of the soul, your higher self, that higher path that you came here to experience. The point is to align free will with divine will. But what happened around the age of 13, 14 years old in my life? My divine will and my free will had a fork in the road. They started splitting. I started going off my path and doing things that weren't in alignment with the reason of why I came here in the first place, that were taking me off path. And what started happening was divine will, God, higher self, whatever you want to call it, that thing that emanates and is a part of absolutely everything, did what it's here to do, did what it could do to bring me right back on path. And those messages got louder and louder and louder and louder until they almost killed me. Until I sat there and said, what is going on? So I understood very quickly at that point, 5 years later, after many, many, many injuries and hardships of ailments and the opposite of me experiencing optimal health, that those things were coming my way to help me, not to hurt me. I wasn't a victim of those situations. I was a creator of them, because the point of coming here, of reincarnating here, of being here, is to align with your highest good and access that and live through that and be a vessel so it can live through you, so you can do the job that you came here to do. So how does that apply to each and every one of you? When you're experiencing ailments, dis-ease, whatever it may be, none of those things you are a victim to. None of those things are happening to you. They're happening because a message is trying to be told to you, is trying to be given to you. The question is, are you aware enough? Are you conscious enough? Are you in the place to hear those messages? And if you're not, they will continue getting louder and louder and louder. And this cycle, just like it happened in my life, happens to everybody all around the world. But if we can be aware of this cycle before it continues and continues to perpetuate, then guess what? We can pass a test, we can receive the gift that we're being given a whole lot quicker. We don't have to wait 40 years to learn a lesson. We can do it the first time we're given that test, the first time we're given that opportunity to evolve, that opportunity to grow, that opportunity to continue aligning free will with divine will. So when you look at health, when you look at dis-ease, when you look at hardships in the topic, in the realm of health, I ask you to shift your perspective. Victimhood is an illusion. You cannot be a victim to a life that you created. You are responsible for the life that you created. And that may be an uncomfortable thing to face, but it's the most liberating truth you will ever walk into the second you accept that. Because we are the creators of our own lives. And when I say we, I'm not talking about the egoic free will part of you only. I'm speaking about that divine will part of you, the part that's connected to source. Remember, as I said in the beginning of this episode, if all is one, and source is the only thing that exists, and I'll keep repeating this over and over and over again, source will never do anything to hurt itself. And a simple reshaping of your perspective will change the way you see everything, will change the way what happens next. So if you're on the side of the spectrum that's experiencing cancer, heart disease, diabetes, whatever it may be, hardships in your physical body, and you want that to surpass, you want to transcend that, you want to move past that, then all you have to do is one simple thing. Instead of asking yourself, why is this happening to me? How do I get rid of it? Why would you want to get rid of a gift? Use that gift. And to use that gift, you look at that cancer, you look at that heart disease, you look at that plaque in your body, you look at anything that's hurting you, that arthritis, that back pain, and you say, what's the message here? And if I can see the message here, and I can learn the lesson here, then you inherently pass the test. You receive the gift. And once you receive a gift, you have no need to be given that gift again, because you already have it. That's how you transcend beyond these things. And same goes for the exact opposite side of the equation. If you're in a place of optimal health, if you're in a place of everything is great, when you understand that you're an infinite, limitless being that came here to experience your limitless nature and infinity as we know it or don't know it, then you can always improve. You don't know what you don't know. There's always people that come to me and say, well, I feel good, so why should I change? And my answer is, well, you don't know how much better you could feel. Why would you want to remain the same? We didn't come here to be stagnant. We didn't come here to experience the same lessons over and over and over and over and over again. We could choose to do that if that's what we want to do, and eventually we'll pass them. But right now, you have a choice. And right now, you have the option to be inspired, to inspire yourself as you're watching this. Are you going to choose to stay in the box because it's comfortable and you know what it holds? That's called being comfortable with being uncomfortable. Or are you going to choose to step out of the box, to go into territory that you just don't know yet, and expand beyond the perceived limitations that you think are real? You are limitless. You are infinite. And everything that is happening to you, you have chosen. It is happening for you, for your greatest good. And if you choose to see it that way, you can pass the test, you can receive that gift, and then you can move on to the next step of your own internal and external evolution. And that's how we reshape our perspective of health, to actually reach our highest potential through the experience of its so-called opposite, which today we call dis-ease. I ask you all to choose to see the world in a productive way, to choose to receive those gifts, no matter how hard they may be, and to continue moving forward, because if we all do that, if enough of us do that, the world will change, not just on your own individual level, but on the collective level as well. And that's ultimately how we bring this world into one from the current corruption, greed, darkness, and war, into light, peace, and love. In the next episode of Inspired, episode 3, we're going to be focusing on the topic of abundance, with a specific focus on the topic of money, reshaping our relationship and perspective on money as we know it today. Abundance is something that we should all be inspired about, all be empowered on, and if we can do that, the world will look a whole lot different. So I look forward to speaking about that topic with all of you and inspiring the inner light within you to experience abundance in everything that you do. My name is Jason Shurka, and this is Inspired. I'll see you on the next episode. Subscribe. Hey, thanks for watching this video. There's so much more I'd like to dive into, but unfortunately, we can't do that here thanks to the heavy censorship efforts from big tech. If you want to explore this topic further, you can dive deep by accessing our entire uncensored library on Unifyd TV. There's a link in the description below this video if you want to check it out. A membership to Unifyd TV gives you unlimited access to hundreds of uncensored podcasts, investigative journalism, documentaries, films, and content that was once available on major streaming platforms like Netflix, but is now banned from the internet. For just $14.99 a month, which is less than $1 a day, you get access to it all. Your subscription also helps keep the platform running free from censorship and corporate influence. Please consider supporting us and enjoy all of our unfiltered and thought-provoking content in return. Thank you very much, and I will see you on Unifyd TV.